Hello, welcome back to another edition of Jump To It for IrishRacing.com, where we're going to be going over the weekend's big action. Thankfully, Cheltenham is going ahead, trials day. They've announced it, just had the inspection, the news came through. There's also some good racing at Doncaster this week, but we'll get to those races all later on in the show. Joining me as ever is betting expert Stephen Harris and Ed Quigley. So Ed, I just want to start with you as well. Just how good is it, the fact that Cheltenham is going ahead, and which races are you most looking forward to?
Yeah, hi Joe. Yeah, fingers crossed. As I say, there is a 7:30 a.m. that dreaded term, a precautionary inspection, isn't there, with a bit of frost due overnight. But I'm amazed, to be honest with you, it's taken so long to defrost most of the track. I mean, yesterday I was nearer than I was in Cheltenham, so it's just amazing. It sounds like a couple of patches under the trees on the back straight have kind of had no sunlight for 3 or 4 days, and essentially it's taken a while for that frost to get out of the ground. But say the covers are being put down on the track as we speak, and fingers crossed the frost doesn't get underneath them. The racing goes ahead. 9-race bonanza. Absolutely buzzing for this, like a wasp on a well-known energy drink. I really am looking forward to this one. Going to be there on the rails. And in terms of the race, most looking forward to, in terms of class, will it be between two of them, wouldn't it? The Cotswold Chase looks small but very select field in that assignment. But my heart, I think the roof will come off the stand if Paisley Park can make it win number 4 in the Cleeve hurdle, and on paper looks to have every chance of doing so.
Absolutely. And Stephen, for you as well, this week on Betting Expert, how's that been going?
Yeah, a much better week. We've had a few winners, Joe, a couple of decent price winners. It's good to get back into the jumping, isn't it? 9 races at Cheltenham, and fair play to the BHA for getting this arranged with the Clarence House added on. It's going to be a belting day, and let's hope from now on, it looks like we're going to get a clean run at things. We've had firm ground, frozen ground, flooded ground. Let's hope now, February onwards, we're going to get soft ground, big fields, all the way up to Cheltenham, Aintree, Punchestown, and then the jump season can really kick on in its second half, because it's been a stuttering and frustrating few months for punters.
Well, absolutely. I mean, frustrating for us as well on the preview show last week. The racing didn't go ahead, so we kind of did all that work basically for nothing. Yeah. But anyway, we'll move on. Hopefully, obviously, we've got the racing going on Saturday. So yeah, let's get into it. The first race of the day, nice and early, the 11:40 Triumph Hurdle Trial. Ed, just take us through the form line here and which horses stand out for you.
Yeah, indeed, Joe. Obviously, yeah, Comfort Zone and Paul Nicholls' filly. They're closely matched, aren't they, from their Chepstow running last time out. Dixon Cove, that's the one. I think Dixon Cove's obviously £5 better off for being beaten on the line there, so arguably a bit better at the weights. I suppose you've got to ask yourself who you think's got the most improvement in them out of those two. Outside of that, then, you've got Jupiter de Gite, who caused a huge upset, 66-1. At Newbury last time out, in the first time Hood debut for the Gary Moore team, and of course Nicky Henderson's Jet Powered, who was sent off 4s on or something, went missing on that assignment. So that horse could be anything. Who knows? To be honest with you. And then you've got Scriptwriter, who's 2 from 2 over hurdles for the Milton Harris team. And again, is an individual who returned to the level last time out, managed to defy a mark of 102 on the flat. So all in all, this is a bit of a classy renewal. But I think one thing we haven't mentioned is the ground when it does go ahead. I think it's going to be gluey, hard work. It's going to probably ride a little bit more testing than the official description of soft, good to soft in places. And I'm going to have a tentative each way play on the basis there are 8 runners here. Active Duty for the Ben Pauling team, having a very good season. This horse had some good soft ground handicap form on the flat when trained in Ireland. Had just a 1 start for the Ben Pauling team, went 3rd in a minor event at Ludlow. But I thought warmed to the task nicely in the closing stages. It was a bit sticky over his obstacles early on, but I thought warmed to task nicely. As I said, wouldn't shock me given the season Ben Pauling's having, this individual with ground to suit were to step up upon that effort. But not a race, a strong betting heat for me, Joe. I think Active Duty is 50-1. As long as we've got the 8 going to post, I'm going to have a small each way play.
Lovely stuff. And Stephen, for you, any kind of angle into this race?
Well, I think Comfort Zone's actually a very fair price, 5-2. I really liked his run behind Lossy Mouth in Ireland, who's the favourite for the Triumph Hurdle. Ran on really strongly from a poor position, and then he came over to Chepstow, 11-10 on. He was set an awful lot to do from last, and I thought he made his ground up quickly. and then perhaps dossed about in front. But I think he's much better than that. I think this track maybe suits him a little bit better. I think probably the weak link in the chain will be Gary Moore's horse, who was any price on the exchanges ahead of his debut and sort of breezed round Newbury. But I mean, I think Gary said he was absolutely amazed. Gary Moore, they're not allowed to have winners at double figures, let alone three figures. This one was. That's not how the yard operates. I mean, he was genuinely caught absolutely amazed. I think they had another runner who was second favourite in the race, who he thought would probably nearly win. And this one amazed him. It was pretty bad ground at Newbury. He raced alone. He is a lunatic who's impossible to saddle. I couldn't be taking 11 for him. I mean, he might be a freak and he might be another Goshen and all the rest of it, but I think I'll be looking to lay him a place. Script writer, well, yeah, he won on the flat the other day. Milton Harris has gone very quiet, 0 from 8 in the last fortnight. And I've got a feeling their horse have been in such good form for so long that he might have gone off now and I'll be against him. I thought the top one, 5-2, I think it's a very fair price.
Yeah, so looking at Comfort Zone there as the recommendation. Now we move on to the next race, so the 12:10 Novice Chase. Again, Ed, just take us through this one and how they're looking at the form line for you.
Yeah, this is a pretty deep handicap, I thought. Obviously, Fire Dancer returned from about 19 years off the track to win at Ludlow last time out. If you haven't seen the race and you just see wins by a head in the form book, that doesn't really tell the whole story. I mean, jumping the last fence, it looked as though Fire Dancer was going to win by about half the track, but was eased down and kind of just held on close on. I think the horse idled a little bit. Gone up in the weights on the back of that, and is kind of vying for favouritism, or is outright favourite now. As Stage Star is the second favourite. Stage Star adds a real interesting dynamic to this, being a Grade 1 winning hurdler, running off 1-4-2 in a handicap chase. It's hard to know quite what to expect from Stage Star so far. I mean, he looked very smart on his chase debut at Warwick. Again, he won a minor event, it won the 9 or something last time out, a nothing race. And in between that, when he was upped in grade to that grade 2 at Newbury, he kind of went missing and he hung badly after the last. Paul Nichols says there's a little physical issue they've sorted. So don't really know what to make of him. He could be very well handicapped off 1-4-2, given he's a grade 1 winning hurdler. So I'm looking down the bottom of the weights here. I think this is incredibly competitive. Small each way play with a Panic Attack. The mare for the Pipe and Scudamore team. She's got some good form at this track. That's worth noting. She's won here before over hurdles, over course and distance. And then I thought probably bumped into one last time out at Kempton, went third to Balco Coastal. I think there was no mean feat in finishing third to her. She's off the same mark here. 2.5 miles, I think, is her trick. When they've tried her over 3, I don't think she's quite got home. Cutting the ground, no problem. She's towards the bottom of the weights. I just think we'll come on to it later, Joe. I think there's races where I'm very kind of think that, those at the top of the market have got the races sewn up. And then, as you would kind of expect in these handicaps, I think you've got to tread carefully on quite a few of them. I mean, Fire Dancer could be well in, but, there's bits and pieces of form of 7 or 8 of Fire Dancer's rivals here that if they put their best foot forward, they're more than entitled to go well. So the prices are kind of playing for me. 16-1 Panic Attack. If that mare can run into the places, I'll be happy.
Yeah, lovely stuff. And Stephen, for you, your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I mean, this is a very interesting race, this. I mean, the favourites 5-2 didn't come off the bridle at Ludlow, but that was a selling chase. And that was at a time when, it wasn't a selling chase, it was a seller, and it was a poor race. And was very impressive. Ludlow to Cheltenham, chalk and cheese, right-handed, flat, decent ground, left-handed, undulating, testing ground. So it's a completely different test, obviously, totally unexposed. One thing I will say, another note of caution, is Venetia, absolutely flying before Christmas, big freeze, suddenly dead again, 0 from 8 in the last 14 days. And I've noted a couple of them running diabolical. So I would be very worried about that at a short price. Now, could look a fool, but again, maybe the value's to lay a place at sort of 6 to 4 on, something like that. I'd have to be against it. I don't particularly fancy Stage Star. Been winning in small fields, now into handicaps. I mean, he's trained by a genius on these Saturdays. Nichols just milks these Saturday races, but I wouldn't be rushing under top weight. I think he's 142 now, and what he's actually been doing in small fields, I'm not sure he's particularly earned that. I was looking a little bit further down, one below, Unexpected Party, Dan Skelton. Couple of sighters behind Boot Hill, John Bonn earlier in the season, schooled round at Sandown. Leicester last time, 13-8 on, but a big drifter. He looked like being about 7-2 on in the morning. He was weak, and he bumped into one in Lockberg Rocco. He's a very nice horse of Laura Morgan's. I wouldn't be dismissive of Unexpected Party because of that odds on defeat. I suspect you're going to get a reasonable price about him because of that defeat. Harry's on board. I think he'll go well. He's got a good makeup. They're going to go right gallop. There's about 5 front runners here, and Unexpected Party is always ridden with patience. So that one each way for me at around 6-1.
And Stephen, is that a kind of general tip maybe you could give to punters as well? Like when an odds-on favourite is beaten, does the market kind of overreact in their next race? For instance,
sometimes. I mean, I think sometimes they think that the horse has been disappointing and let them down, but I'm not sure he did. I think Lockbow Rocker is a very nice horse, and Unexpected Party is a bit of a bridle monkey, Joe. He needs to be produced late, and he doesn't do a lot in front, and he can be a weak finisher. And Leicester has got a very, very long straight, and I don't think that particularly suited him. He got there going well, about 3 out, and then curled up from 2 out. He got tired. I mean, maybe, Cheltenham might not be his track either, in truth, but he should get a good make-up here, be produced late by Skelp.
All right, well, let's move on to the next race on the card. So this is the one that maybe divides opinion a little bit, the cross-country chase. Some people love it. Some people, don't want it to be on the card at all. But Stephen, let's just get your view on the cross-country. Which camp are you in?
It divides opinion for me, Joe, because I'm never quite sure whether to have a cup of tea or a coffee while they're running. I genuinely, I don't think I've ever had a bet in the race. The only thing I've ever done in these cross countries is lay the winner, and it's usually Tiger Roll. I think I stood him a place, almost the maximum, when he bounced back to his best. Was it a couple of years ago in the festival?
Yeah.
But no, they're not races. They're not betting races for me, to be honest with you. I used to enjoy them more when they all used to take the wrong course about halfway. That was the highlight of the cross-country season for me. I'll leave this one to Ed.
Yeah, take it away then, Ed. Your thoughts on the race?
Yeah, I think they're good. They're good fun. As you say, I don't tend to take them too seriously. Obviously, this is a handicap. The big one in 6.5 weeks' time is level weight. So Delta work under 12 stone. Trying to give lumps of weight here. Understandably, that's why Rob James has been booked to the ride to claim the 7 to help kind of negate that weight burden. So very quickly, I'm going down towards the bottom of weights here. Gordon Elliott's got an 11-year-old in this assignment with Sam Ewing on board. Mortal, whose recent form figures are totally uninspiring, it has to be said. However, was 4th in this last year. That was off a mark of 139. I thought it was interesting at 25-1, getting in here 12 months later off 136. So it was 4th in it last year. It's £3 low. It was 25-1. And also, I did actually watch a replay of this race last night, Joe. Mortal was arguably a little bit unlucky not to get closer on that occasion to Diesel Dallier. Mortal actually slipped as they came into the home straight. I remember there was a load of kerfuffle afterwards about whether it had been overwatered or all that kind of nonsense kicked off amongst the Twitterati. But essentially, Mortal lost his footing coming into the home straight, lost momentum, and as I say, arguably could have got a bit closer on that occasion. So small each way play for me. Mortal, 4th in it last year, off a lower weight, 25-1. That'll do.
Yeah, I think that kind of covers it quite nicely. I don't think, Stephen, you have a thought in terms of a bet on this race?
No, I won't be having a bet.
All right, let's move on to a race that maybe people won't be having a bet on as well. It's obviously the rearranged Clarence House Chase. We're all on Energumene here, aren't we, Ed?
Yeah, I would be. Again, I wouldn't ever back anything. Two's on, really. Just not my kind of modus operandi, to be honest with you. But I think he's the most likely winner. I think the market's got it pretty much spot on. Obviously, won the champion chase. He's only lost once over fences. Of course, that was in probably the race of the entire last season when in that ding-dong thriller with Shishkin. Whereas Shishkin's career has kind of gone down the pan since then. This individual just keeps going from strength to strength. Obviously won the champion chase, bolted up at Punchestown by 9 lengths, and then on his seasonal reappearance in the Hilly Way, all right, he was 1-9, all that, but all the fires were burning, he showed everything, all the zest was still there. He came home and head in chest in a common canter. I think Edward Stone, clearly no mug, Arkle Tingle Creek winner, and you could argue on his Tingle Creek form, he's taken his game to new levels. So, yeah, I think Energumene's definitely in a race here. I think you'll know about it, put it that way. The interesting spoiler in the pack could be Editor De Gite, who put in a remarkable performance, a career best performance at Kempton last time out, romping home by 13 lengths. Now, it's just the pace angle. He went back to his old favoured kind of swashbuckling tactics of going along in front. So, Energumene, I think, might want to get on with it. Editor Jeet, I don't think will hang around. Funnable Sivilla, he's been ridden forward promptly in the past as well. So I think there could be fair bit of gas on here early doors. Amarillo Sky, when he's won on a couple of occasions, he's made all. So I think Edwardstone, similar to Kempton, which didn't work last time out, I think he will be ridden quite cold and patiently here. I don't think it'll be in Tom Cannon's interest to get involved in a bit of a pace battle. So, convoluted way of saying it, it'd be interesting how they ride Energumene, whether he is just ridden with a bit more restraint here, with all these kind of front runners wanting to go to the fore. So I think Energumene will win, but I think Edwardstone will really serve it up to him. I think it'll be an excellent spectacle. And as Stephen said at the top of the show, it's great that the powers to be have managed to bash their heads together and get this race rearranged, and use common sense to reopen the entries, or at least allow horses to be supplemented it after that farcical 3-runner show we were going to have at Ascot.
Exactly. Stephen, anything extra to add there? I think Ed's covered it quite nicely.
Yeah, Ed has some that I totally agree with him. Just quickly, Willie Mullins, the last fortnight, he's 40%. He's had 17 winners. Absolutely extraordinary. Alan King, Edwardstone, quieter, 1 from 9. I wouldn't say they were running badly. They're a bit quiet, Alan King. We'll see. I'm sure it'll be fine. It was a bit of an anomaly, wasn't it, Edwardstone last time? Edwardstone has got the makeup. I do agree with Ed about that. If he got to sort of 5-2, I mean, if they really declared for Energumene and he ended up sort of 5-2 on and it was 3 bar, I mean, Edwardstone's a blinding each way, but he's got a brilliant makeup. It's snide, but he's a good bet. Yeah. I can't have Gary Moore's horse at all. I'll be looking to lay him a place. I think he's got a terrible makeup here. Amarillo Sky's a front runner. Funnable Savona is a front runner. A spoiler. Sizing Potsy, the bottom one, is a tearaway. So I think Energumene will sit 3rd or 4th and pick them off. I think might have a bit too much class for Edwardstone, but we're not saying anything original.
No, exactly. I think, again, this race has been covered quite a lot. The fact that we had the Clarence House preview, now it's been rearranged to Cheltenham. Nothing's really changed. Let's just move on to the next race on the card now. Ed, we were speaking off air as well about your darling going in this one. Just take us through your thoughts on that horse, what Ben Pauling said before the season started, and now where is he at?
Yeah, indeed. He's a horse who's given me nightmares. But he was in my 10 to follow, wasn't he? And with the big asterisk, first time out is the time to catch him. And of course, first time out was the time to catch him, because your darling absolutely hammered the field at Ascot back in, when was it, end of November. I mean, destroyed them. Went up £10 on the back of that. And it was interesting listening to Ben Pauling afterwards. He said, well, we've gone up to 133. We almost need to be up to a rating of about 135 to almost guarantee us getting into the plate at the Cheltenham Festival. So from what I gather, kind of they and ahed. I thought, well, we're going to have to run him again to guarantee if he wins to get his weight up so we can book his ticket to the festival. Whereas if we put him away till March and he misses the cut, misses the ballot, well, then we were basically going from November to Aintree without the horse having run. So all in all, I think he's a horse who's right on the cusp of the ratings band. That has caused all sorts of confusion for connections. And I don't think he quite stayed 3 miles last time out. This probably looks more his bag. Just the problem for me is I keep harping on about it. First time out seems to be the time to catch him. His record fresh is brilliant and his form disappears. So all in all, a race I think is incredibly difficult. No real strong views. I don't like those towards the top of the weights. I think like Brave Saska, doesn't like Cheltenham. All Mankind looks gone it again. Cool Cody, 18 years old. He's lovable, but he seems to be running every week at the moment. Caribbean Boy has really gone to pot. So I'm probably going to look for something down the bottom. I know one of Stephen's cliff horses of all time in here, the 11-year-old Spirit of the Games, is a big price. And I just thought I could see him travelling into this. But then, as is often the case, maybe he'll down tools when he sees the Cheltenham Hill. I'll probably be a bit harsh there. But the point being, he's a thoroughly exposed 11-year-old, but he will travel into it. I'm going a very small each-way play. Horse number 16 on your cards. The mare here, Precious Eleanor, for the Henry Daly team. Good stat for you here, Joe. Henry Daly, with a 22% strike rate, is currently operating at the best strike rate he has ever done so since he took out his training licence in 1998. The yard are absolutely flying. He really is having a season of all seasons. An absolute training renaissance for the Daly team based up in Ludlow there. This mare's got quarter distance form. She's got no weight on her back at all. She didn't see out 3 miles at Market Raisin. This is more her bag. Yes, she's in deeper waters, but as I said, I'm of the view those at the top of the weights. Normally they're the class act, but in my opinion, I think they're spent forces, and I think they're kind of opening the door for those at the bottom. So only 10-2 on her back. Precious Eleanor each way play around 16-1, maybe a little bit bigger if you shop around. That'll be my selection.
Like that, yeah. Nice value each way pick potentially. Stephen, just take us through your thoughts on the favourite here. I just wanted to get your thoughts on Fugitive, and for the Richard Hobson team. I don't think he's a very got a lot of horses in training. But what do you make of this one?
Yeah, big runner, definitely. Richard Hobson. Horses had the virus last season. They've all come down a stone in the weights. They've all been hinting at better, running well in defeat. And the Fugitive was a very impressive winner at Doncaster, landing a bit of a touch, confidently ridden, travelling well throughout. Handicap has taken action. He's only 5-1. I mean, this is a belting race to be a punter, Joe, which sounds a funny thing to say about a 17 runner handicap, but it really is. I mean, you're getting 4 places conventionally. The place book with the off-course firms will be wildly overbroke. They will not be able to make a profit. The more horses you back, the better terms you'll have. And, as Ed has said, there's a whole load of dead wood in here who all happen to be front runners as well. So the move here, and the icing on the cake is a lot of firms will offer extra places here. So you might get 5 or even 6 places for looking around. There's dead ones. All want to front run. Brave Siaska, All Mankind, Cool Cody definitely wants to front run. Caribbean Boy's a front runner. Going down them a bit further, One True King's a front runner. I mean, there's at least 5 or 6 front runners. You don't want to back any of them each way. So put together a package of 4 or 5 horses each way. The one I'd selected originally was Il Ridotto, who is going to get another patient-ish ride. Will appreciate being eased a few pounds. He's run really well in a couple of good Cheltenham handicaps this season. The only negative now with Il Ridotto is he's now 5-1. He was 10 when the prices came out, so I'm not rushing to take 5. I don't disagree with Ed's selection, Precious Eleanor, who jumped left at Sandown last time, so this way round will definitely suit, and Henry Daly's flying. The bottom one, Guy, I mean, and Spirit of the Game's Ed, they're both cliff horses of mine. Guy keeps running blinders in defeat. I think a bigger field will help Guy. He's been running in small fields at Ludlow and he hits a flat spot. He made a few mistakes last time as well. But Spirit of the Games has got a brilliant makeup here. Always runs well at Cheltenham. Will be switched off out the back and come through and finish second again, and we'll all be crying. But he's 20-1 each way. I mean, imagine 6 places. You'd need a hammer to knock him out the frame if he gets around in one piece. So, yeah, good race to be a punter, this one.
Lovely stuff. All right, let's move on to perhaps the most competitive race on the card, so the Cotswold Chase. Ed, take us through your thoughts on this one. I think you've spotted some value in here.
Yeah, I think the value's with the favourite, personally. He's on official figures, he's the best horse. He's got the best recent form. He won the Grade 1 Betfair Chase. His best ever career run, if you took all the best performances of what any horse has ever done in here, I suppose Frodon, back in the day, you'd argue, he's probably achieved a bit more, but he's 11 years young now. But Protector at third in last year's Gold Cup, that's a a bit of form as anything else in here has managed to achieve. And I think he's going to take all the beating. There'll be enough juice in the ground. As I said, it's going to be real hard work, kind of real gluey out there. That won't be a problem for him. And yeah, I think there's an argument he could be shorter here. Hoisinyor, I mean, has been lapped pretty much in every race this season. Frodon said he's 11, and yes, he's been running well, but he's taken on younger legs. Sounds Russian, I don't think it's good enough. Dusart's had back trouble, and I know Stephen might touch upon him again in a minute, but that leaves basically Protector at Noble Yates. Now, Noble Yates is this enigma, isn't he? In the fact that he's a horse who's obviously won the Grand National, but now he's trying to throw his hat in the ring for the Cheltenham Gold Cup, which personally, actually, he seems an incredibly short price for that at the moment. I mean, short is kind of 11-2, 6-1 in a few places. When you look at collateral form, you know, he beat Dashel Drasher 3 lengths at Aintree with a Hoisinyor 3 lengths behind, and Sounds Russian. They're all kind of in a heat 3.5, 4 lengths behind him. Well, if you think of a horse like Brave Man's Game, beat a Hoisinyor 30 lengths in the King George. I just wonder whether you've gone slightly overboard about Noble Yates. And the bigger question for me with Noble Yates, Joe, to answer your question, because the market is suggesting he's the one to give Protector out the most to think about, is can he do it away from his beloved Aintree? Obviously, won the National, won at Aintree, had good form at Wetherby last year. I just cannot get it out of my mind. He went to the Cheltenham Festival last season. That was only in the Ultima. in a handicap off 147, and he came home legless. He's got to prove he could do it on an undulating track away from some of these flat tracks he's been operating very well at. He could do. I just think it's quite an expensive way to find out if you take 15-8 and he doesn't act on it again. So all in all, I think Protectorat's the best horse in the race, and I think he'll take a lot of beating. So to mention Stephen's point about yard form, the Skeltons, we touched upon it, didn't we, in December? All went a bit quiet here. 43%. For the last fortnight, the dance, he's trying to serve it up to Willie Mullins in terms of the in-form yards. So it ticking all the right boxes for me as far as a favourite goes.
And that's it. I think it's a good point as well around the term, the value pick, is that if you think the price should be a lot shorter, then it's a value bet. So regardless of what kind of odds it is. But Stephen, take us through your value angle into this one. Do you kind of echo the views on Protectorat, and just take us through your pick?
Yeah, I mostly agree with Ed, although I have selected Dusart here, who's a very, very good horse at a very big price. I think you're going to get 14 or 16 on the exchanges. The main thing with Dusart is I think he needed the run over hurdles the other day. Maybe he's not a hurdler anymore. He was well backed, but he weakened turning for home, finished a well-beaten sixth. But, any other yard, you say it was a nice pipe opener back over fences. I really liked his run at Ayr last season when he beat Sounds Russian down the bottom, who's around about an 8 or 9 to 1 chance here. And Sounds Russian has run well in defeat behind Noble Yates this season as well. So I don't think there's the disparity, certainly between Noble Yates, who's around 2 to 1, 9 to 4, and Dusart, who could be 14 or 16. On lines through Sounds Russian, I don't think there's that much between them. The big plus, which is a bit of a puntery thing to say, but Dusart is now ridden by James Bowen. Now, Dusart has been Nico de Boinville for most of his life, which, in my humble opinion as a punter, is not a positive, whereas James Bowen is a very good jockey. Dusart took a while to get the hang of jumping. He jumped left in his early days in novice chases, but he ran a lot better than the bare result in the Brown Advisory. He just made a couple of mistakes, parked out wide and got tired up the straight. That wasn't a bad run. He was 20 to 1 for that last season. And then he was really impressive at Ayr, and I thought he's going to be one to follow this season. But maybe that hurdling run, I think he's had a back issue, should put him spot on. I agree. Noble Yates is one of those horses. He was incredibly impressive at Aintree. He quickened up. He made up about 6 lengths in 10 strides and flew home past. But you read the form back, and it was only Dashel Drashel, who is painfully slow and needs very deep ground. So maybe it wasn't all that it seemed. Protectorat, for me, definitely the right favourite. Kept fresh since his winning reappearance. Very impressive at Haydock. It's got plenty of Cheltenham form in the book. The yard's flying. I suspect Protectorat might get shorter and Noble Yates might get bigger. But for me, double figures, Dusart, better value.
Good stuff. All right, let's move on to the next race. So this one actually features one of your 10 to follow for the season, Stephen, in Gelino Bello. I wanted to just get your thoughts on his season so far, basically, and how you've been reacting to it.
Yeah, well, a very talented horse, back hurdling here, and I think it's a good move. Ed and I are going to disagree here, because I know Ed's napping Paisley Park. I think Paisley Park is a diabolical price here. I couldn't back Paisley Park at 5 to 4 if it was the last 5 to 4 chance in the world. Now, he might well come through and win, but at some point in this race, you're not going to be wanting to take 10, let alone 5 to 4. So I can't have him, just from a trading point of view. He might well come through and win, but he's hard work. I couldn't be with him. Gelino, but I think it's got more speed. The one I think is going to be a tactical advantage here, and he's got loads to find on ratings and all the rest of it. Botox has the top one, Gary Moore. He's a tough, top-class Saturday handicapper with a brilliant attitude. He's going to lead. I think he might lead on his own, please, with a bit of luck. Jamie Moore's booked. I don't think they'll get past him up the hill. I think he's 14 to 1. I think it's a cracking price. People say he's just a handicapper in a graded race, but these stayers, to be honest, there's no difference between. In fact, I'd sooner have the top handicappers who've been running in 25 runner races at Haydock than I would have the sort of old veteran grade 1, grade 2 horses who've been running in 4 runner races at Newbury. So Botox has for me 14 to 1 about. I think it's a really fair price.
All right, Ed, take it away with your thoughts on this one then, Paisley Park.
Yeah, Paisley Park wins. That's that. Right, moving on. I can take Stephen's point in terms of the in-running price for Paisley. I think he'll start odds on here. He's got absolutely nothing to beat. Molly's Ollie's Wishes has got Stone to Find. I don't think she's good enough. Lord Accord's having a spin over hurdles for the festival. Gold Tweet, I've got no idea. I was looking through this this French individual, but on the market would suggest that also has loads to find. Dashel Drasher again is a horse we seem to be talking about a lot on this show, but he's 10 years young. Again, he has stacks to find on figures. Is he really good enough? Botox has. I get Stephen's point, but again, it would have to take a big step forward from what he showed last time out. He last won a handicap off 144, didn't he? So here you've got a horse in Paisley Park who's odds against, who won a Grade 1 last time out. He's won this race 3 times. What he's achieved is in a different postcode to what the rest of this field can do. The one negative would be he's 11 years young now. And naturally, Mother Nature will take its toll at some point, and he will start to regress. But the evidence we've seen on the racecourse from a month ago, in that Grade 1 at Kempton, is that the fires are still very much burning, and that wasn't far off his kind of career peak on the figures, etc. So, all in all, I wouldn't be shocked. Here we go. Paisley Park starts odds on. Hits a huge price in running and comes up the hill to win. That's the way I see it. I just think going back through previous encounters of this is arguably one of his most easier assignments in this race. So yeah, Paisley for me, I think he'll get the job done.
Yeah, so a potential shout there for the in-play bettors as well to get on him at a bigger price. Right, let's move on to the next race then. So the Ballymore Novices Hurdle, Grade 2. Ed, just take us through your thoughts on this one.
No real strong view on this one. I'm going to leave this one to Stephen, although, where we got? I want to see Rock My Way run well, because obviously I've tipped up We've All Been Caught for the Ballymore, for the Albert Bartlett, I should say, on this show, anti-post. And obviously Rock My Way was second to We've All Been Caught on New Year's Day at Cheltenham. So I'll be looking for a little form boost, at least, from that side of things. But in terms of an actual wager for the contest, no, I'm going to sit this one out for now. I'll leave it to Stephen.
Yeah, Stephen, your nap goes here, right?
Yeah, I'm really strong on Pembroke. He's won a couple of small novice hurdles at Wetherby and Ludlow. Pointing background, yard flying. He'll definitely appreciate this stiffer test of stamina. There's loads more improvement to come. He's getting a much more fluent jumper. Loves soft ground. Yeah, loads of positives. Henry II won a race at Sandown. I wasn't wild on that race. There was a horse from the north, Maximilian, came down, Donald McCain's. I don't think he gave his running on the day, and I'm not sure Henry II beat a great deal, whereas Pembroke's got loads of potential. There are a few lurkers in here, but Pembroke was sort of 3-1 when the prices came out the other day. I think he has shortened up a little bit, but if you can get 3-1, I think that's a fair bet, and one of the better bets of the weekend.
Yeah, especially with the form of the Skelton team as well. It's just, flying at the moment. All right, let's move on to the last race on the card at Cheltenham. So, Ed, I know your long shot goes here, so let's just take us through your selection.
Yeah, indeed. I'm with History Bear for the Tom Simmons team, trained just outside Ross-on-Wye, not a million miles away from the course. This individual, it's officially £2 out of the weights, but Jordan Naylor is booked to ride to claim 3 to negate that, if you like. But all in all, this horse has been a little bit underwhelming since running an absolute stormer in this race 12 months ago. He finished third, which was a pretty good hot renewal of that. And look, this time round gets in here off a mark, off a couple of pounds lower. So all in all, I think he's third in the race last year. He's weighted to go well. And also, if you go back to the race 12 months ago, Joe, I think the ground might have been a bit on the lively side for him. I think both his wins have come on very steep ground. At least one's come on heavy, one's come on soft. It was quick ground for or good ground, shall I call it, for Trials Day 12 months ago. I think the softer ground here is going to play to his strength. So I thought History Bear 18-1 floating around will be my each way selection. I'm hoping we're going to have we won't want Stephen moaning on this show, but we do have the 16 runners declared for this. So I'm sitting there with sweaty palms. Not only to check the meeting actually goes ahead, but that we can get the 4 places in the bag here for History Bear in the finale, the get out of jail stakes, Joe.
Yeah, hopefully a good each way poke for you there. Stephen, any thoughts on the race, or you leaving it?
Yeah, I'm boring again here. I mean, first of all, I've got a little bit of 11-10 to go that all 16 turn up, which I always offer to Ed every Saturday in these 16 runner handicaps. So yet to lay a bet, but it's not a price I'll be rushing to take myself. I thought Picar was the one here. well beaten in his first handicap at Newbury, very well supported there. He didn't stay. It was 2 mile 5 at Newbury, and he got very tired. He didn't particularly settle for the first mile and weakened out of things 3 out. But he shaped okay. His previous win at Chepstow is belting strong form. It's worked out really well. And off 129, he really should be well capable in handicaps. The yard are absolutely flying. He's back at 2 miles here. Strongly run race. Skelton cruising. I think he'll go close.
Lovely. Right, that covers Cheltenham. But Ed, I know you want to take us through a few races at Doncaster as well. So just over to you.
Yeah, we'll whiz through these, Joe. Yeah, some good action up on Town Moor. It has to be said. Some strong fields, but we won't go through everything. But the 135, of course, is the Grade 2 Lightning Novices Chase. John Bomb fans will be keeping an eye on this. Obviously, Boot Hill is your 6-5 market leader here. Now, Boot Hill was comprehensively put in his place, wasn't he, by John Bond at Sandown in that Grade 1 back in December. And then subsequently, Boot Hill has come out and won the Wayward Lad at Kempton. So it kind of all John Bond's form was working out nice collaterally. And so interesting listening to Harry Fry saying they'll probably look to win this. That's the aim. And then go on to Aintree. They have left him in the Arkle. So if the race cuts up, they may consider rolling the dice. I think that the quote was the owner said there is only one Arkle. So I kind of get their viewpoint, if you like. Although the overall profile of his form suggests he has a bit to find. Tommy's Oscar, St. Seagull, and a couple of others in there could give him something to think about. Expect Boot Hill probably to get the job done, though. And then we've got former champion hurdle winner Epperton. At 2 to 7 or thereabouts in the Yorkshire Rose Mares Hurdle. More Grade 2 action on your cards. It does look a little bit of an open goal for her, doesn't it? They've avoided most of the rain. In fact, I believe they're actually watering the course, believe it or not, to maintain good. I mean, almost bonkers to hear that, isn't it, really? Good ground, flat track. She's a glider. She's got to turn her foot. Yes, she's penalised. You've got to give weight away. But, I mean, crikey, if she can't win this, there's trouble. I mean, we've been very forgiving of her on this show this season because she's been chasing the backside of a certain Constitution Hill. This is swimming with sharks to lying on a Lido, comparing those two. I think she'll win this by half the track. Then on to the Albert Bartlett trial. It is in name. In my view, I don't think there's anything particularly in here which will make up into a Cheltenham Festival Albert Bartlett candidate, but nonetheless, it's a good race in itself. Stay away Fry. Your market leader for the Paul Nicholls team. And then on to the Skybet Chase at 3:15. A horse we know quite well, Joe, from our days around the Jamie Snowden Stable Tour back in October. Gar Law, of course, came out and won the Paddy Power Gold Cup, didn't he, in November, staying on strongly up the Cheltenham Hill. He's been very well supported for this. I think he was 12 to 1 when the market first went up. He's into as short as 9 to 4 in a couple of places. Now, it does seem quite short on the face of it, but then you actually go through the field, there's quite a few exposed sorts in there. Gar Law, lightly raced 7-year-old progressive. If you could defy a marker 150 here, Joe, I wonder if they might start thinking about tilting at windmills. He does have a Cheltenham Gold Cup entry. Obviously, he would have to go and win this well. But he's an exciting horse anyway, Garlaw, and whatever he does in this assignment, I'm sure he's still got a bright future. So, yeah, really good action on Town Moor. Say, Stephen's favourite jockey, Nico de Boinville, making the journey up there. So I'm surprised Stephen hasn't gone up there too.
That's what I wanted to get your thoughts on, Stephen. What's wrong with Nico de Boinville?
Well, he's riding top-class horses, so he's going to win plenty of races. If any of them ever need finessing or there's any tactical nous required or thought going into things, well, I mean, I've got a long list of things I don't think he's particularly good at. He wouldn't be in my top 20 of jockeys. I mean, Henderson used to have Mick Fitzgerald as the stable jockey, top-class jockey, never made a mistake. Since then, he's had a success. And Geraghty, had Barry Geraghty riding. I don't think they're ever quite stable jockey, but since then, which is about 10 years ago or more, he's had a succession of people not riding regularly. He had Marcus Foley riding for him at one point. I've got a Marcus Foley story for you one day. But no, I mean, I'm not. Nico's perfectly capable of winning on certainties. I'm sure he won't come off the bridle to win on Epatante, but his track positioning is regularly diabolical. I mean, if you watch midweek racing, which I do, I live off it basically. He's frequently in the wrong place at the wrong time, and I think he's got hands like concrete. But it's only my opinion. A lot of people think he's perfectly good, so perhaps I'm talking rubbish.
All right. Anyway, that kind of wraps it up for our race previews. Well, let's just sum up your tips for the week. So, Stephen, I think we've already covered yours, but just give us a reminder of your tips for the weekend.
What I should do now is tip up 3 Nico de Boinville horses, Joe, shouldn't I? That set the cat among the pigeons on YouTube, the fan club. No, 3 bets for me. The betting expert Daily Nap runs in the 3:35 at Cheltenham. Pembroke, Dan Skelton, absolutely flying. 2 wins in smallish races, flat left-handed tracks. Obviously, undulating track now at Cheltenham, but the stiffer test of stamina will definitely suit him. Hoping to get at least 3-1 about him. If that's the case, it'd be a really good bet, I think. The value angle is Dusart in the 225. James Bowen taking over in the saddle. Hopefully, he needed the run over hurdles when he was a bit disappointing first time out. I think he's a chaser with loads of potential. Maybe at around 14-1, he can improve past some more exposed rivals. I certainly think the price disparity between Dusart and Noble Yates is much too big. One's 2-1 and the other's 14. So I think that's the case there. And the rag, the long shot, in the 3 o'clock at Cheltenham, Botox has. I'm taking on Ed here. I shall be blushing next week when Paisley Park wins on the bridle. But I just think Paisley Park, I'm dying to take him on. I think he's going to hit a flat spot. He's very vulnerable. He's had issues physically in the past. I can't be with him. So I think Botox has a tough front-running ride from Jamie Moore. See them all off up the hill.
Lovely. And Ed, just remind us of your tips as well, please.
Yeah, I'm with the old boy Paisley Park, nearly old enough to smoke, but he will make you wince when he comes off the bridle 2 out and he's going up and down on the spot in last. But history would say he comes up the hill in first. And so, yeah, Paisley Park odds against, I personally think is very fair about that horse who won a grade 1 last time out. My value pick is Protectorat. I think he should be shorter. I think there's a few out of sorts horses in there against him other than Noble Yates, who has to prove he can do it at Cheltenham. So I think Protectorat, as a horse who arrives on the back of an emphatic success in the Betfair Chase, and of course was 3rd in last year's Gold Cup, is very fair at 13-8. And then the long shot, History Bear, 3rd in the race last year, waited to go well. Softer ground, the big difference between this year and last year. It was watered good ground 12 months ago, Joe. We've got soft ground here. A bit more of a test of stamina, battle of wills, that will help him. So, again, fingers crossed we get the 4 places, but a History Bear for me in the finale.
Lovely. All right, best of luck to you and your tips. And Stephen, of course, you as well. We're back next week for more advice, more previews. Thankfully, the racing goes ahead. So, yeah, fingers crossed everything goes to plan and we actually get some racing this weekend. That wraps it up for today's show. Thanks a lot for watching. What do you make of our experts' tips? And also, what do you make of Nico de Boinville? Let us know in the comments below. We'll be back soon here from irishracing.com. So, thanks a lot for watching and see you again soon.